Selene's fingers were still entwined with Rowan's as the forest shuddered around them. The whispers grew frantic, now warning, pleading, desperate. Rowan winced, his body tensing as if something unseen pulled at him. "They know," he murmured. "They know I tried to leave." Selene tightened her grip. "Then we have to keep moving." The trees around them bent unnaturally, twisting in the wind that didn't belong. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, as if they were stepping out of time itself. Then, at the forest's heart, they found the ruins. Selene gasped. What should have been a thriving villager kingdom's outpost was nothing but ash and silence. Rowan's breath hitched. No, this was where he had disappeared. This was where it had all begun. Selene stepped carefully through the remains of a house. Its roof collapsed. Its walls burned black. Everything was untouched, frozen in time. Plates still sat on tables. Chairs still stood, as if waiting for people who would never return. Rowan ran a hand over the charred wood, his jaw tight with emotion. "They covered it up," he whispered. "The king told the people I'd died in battle. But he never told them what happened here." Selene's throat tightened. "What did happen?" Rowan hesitated, then turned to face her. "I don't remember," she frowned. "Nothing." He shook his head. "Flashes, voices, but the moment I try to hold on to them, they slip away." Selene's heart ached for him. For 5 years, he had been a ghost in his own story, wandering through a world that refused to remember him. But she wasn't going to let him be forgotten. Not again. She reached out, resting a hand over his. "We'll find the truth." Rowan looked at her, searching her face, his storm-grey eyes filled with something unspoken. Then, from the far end of the ruins, a voice whispered, soft as wind, cold as winter. "Go to the tower." Rowan stiffened. Selene turned, her pulse quickening. The glass tower? It was only a legend, a place said to hold the secrets of the cursed. Rowan exhaled slowly. "It's real," and they had no choice but to find it. The journey to the glass tower was not an easy one. The deeper they went, the more the forest resisted. Branches moved on their own. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Shadows flickered between the trees, watching. At one point Selene heard a voice call her name, her mother's voice. She froze. "That's not possible." Rowan grabbed her wrist. "Don't listen." She turned to him, her breathing shallow. It's the forest's trickery," he said firmly. "It wants to keep us here." Selene swallowed hard, nodding. But as they walked, she couldn't shake the feeling that the whispers weren't just trying to trap them. They were trying to warn them. And by the time they saw the tower rising through the mist, she realized why. Because someone was already waiting for them. Lady Evora Nightbane stood at the entrance, draped in dark velvet, her silver hair flowing around her like a storm. Rowan stilled, his grip on Selene's hand tightened. "You know her," Selene whispered. Rowan's jaw clenched. "She was my father's most trusted advisor." Selene frowned. "Then why is she here?" Evora's lips curled into a knowing smile. "Because I put him here." The world tilted. Rowan's breath came sharp. Evora stepped closer, her violet eyes gleaming. "You really don't remember, do you, my prince?" Selene could feel Rowan's pulse racing, his body tensed like a man caught between fight and flight. Evora tilted her head. "Shall I remind you?" Then with a single whisper Rowan collapsed to his knees, gripping his head as memories came flooding back. Selene knelt beside him, panic rising. His breath came in ragged gasps. Eyes wide with shock as forgotten moments rushed back into him. Memories of the night he was cursed, of his father's betrayal, of Evora's whispered spell. Rowan looked up, face pale. "My father," he ordered this. Selene's blood ran cold. "The king." Rowan's hands curled into fists. "He feared I would take the throne before he was ready to give it up." Selene stared at him, horror creeping into her veins. Yes, Evora said, amused. He asked me to make his son disappear. Selene shook with anger. And you did it? Evora let out a soft chuckle. Oh, my dear. I did far worse. Rowan slowly stood, his breathing steady but his expression unreadable. What did you do to me? He asked, voice low. Evora's smile widened. And then she said the words that changed everything. I made you immortal. To be continued.